Hello, everyone. Good day. This is Zhu Wei Kun, Regional Cybersecurity Specialist from Fortinet. My team is Adaptive Cloud Security. I'm glad here to present Fortinet Cloud Security Architecture for public sector on behalf of my team. So currently, we have a 4 key person within regional adaptive cloud security team to support Southeast Asia and Hong Kong's opportunity and the solution here. From my left-hand side, Patrick Law is my team lead. Currently, he's stationed in Hong Kong and help us to penetrate cloud security opportunity and the project for Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. Second person is Ibnu Sina. He and me stationed in Singapore to support any cloud security opportunity in AWS, Azure, and the Google Cloud. The last person here's Andy Wong. Currently, he's stationed in China, Hangzhou. So he's a key role. He's a Ali Cloud, also called Alibaba Cloud, to help partner and the end user to adopt the right Fortinet cybersecurity solution deployed in Alibaba Cloud. So today's agenda, first one, Fortinet adaptive cloud security strategy. Second, reference architecture Fortinet solution on AWS. Third one, reference architecture Fortinet solution on Azure. Number 4, deployment use case for public sector. Number 5, sizing reference. Last one, summary and a follow-up. So what's an adaptive cloud security strategy? What does it include? First one, we can see from network security portion. First, item 1, secure hybrid cloud deploys secure connectivity, network segmentation, and application security for hybrid cloud-based deployment. Cloud Security Services Hub unify silo environment through a central security services hub or transit network. Logical intent-based segmentation, which build access rule and the segmentation based on user identity or business logic, adjust the rules dynamically in response to a continuous trust assessment. Secure remote access, connect to cloud resource with IPsec VPN connection across a multiple cloud and on-premises environment. On top of network security, we're talking about application security here. First one, web application security. Secure web application from known and unknown attack using Fortinet web application security solution. Typically, is a Fortinet, FortiWeb, and the FortiADC solution. Second, container security. Enable security for all stages of a container's deployment and rollout. So typically, we'll heavily leverage on FortiCASB and the FortiCWP to achieve this goal. On top of it, there's a cloud platform requirement. First one, cloud infrastructure visibility and control. Monitor activity and the configuration of multiple cloud resource while simplifying regulatory and compliance reporting. Second, compliance in the cloud. In fact, this is a key item where will be well addressed by TSO and the CISO officer. Our function able to automate compliance auditing and the reporting for on-premises and the cloud environments. Third one, cloud-based security management and analytics. Leverage the global presence of a public cloud to deploy centralized and a global security management analytic system in the cloud. So this is a very simplified diagram. You can see from here. Network here typically will leverage on 40K as a next generation firewall and with a secure SD-WAN solution in place. On top of it, there's a 40 web as a web application firewall. Concurrently, we also have a 40 MAC to protect your cloud email services. The third one, 40C GSLB, Global Service Load Balancer. 40 ADC is a web adaptive controller to load balancing your web servers. If you move into all then to the public cloud, as I highlighted earlier, 40 CWB and the 40 CASB in place. Here's a one architecture slide to show Fortinet adaptive cloud capability on public cloud, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS deployment, including AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. And you can have a peace of mind to engage Fortinet cloud security with us. So from this simplified deployment diagram, item 1, typically item 1, 2, and 3. These are deployment scenario which you are familiar with. Since all of them will deploy in your current data center, let's say government data center, your on-premises server room, or your end user deployment site. First one, 40K, next generation firewall with SD-WAN capability. In a layman term, you will help to form the north-south traffic here. This is north-south traffic managed by 40K SD-WAN solution as an overlay appliance to manage your existing MPLS and the internet traffic connect to public cloud, AWS, Azure, and the Google. Second item, to comply with the end user access to public cloud, we are leverage on 40 client. 40 client will work with your end user computer team, to deploy. 40 client use a SSL and the IPsec VPN to provide secure, reliable access to corporate network and application from virtually any internet connected remote location. 40 clients simplifies a remote user experience with a built-in auto connect and the always on VPN features. The third one will move into your managed service portion. Typically, it's a simplified command center leverage on 40 manager and the 40 analyzer to do policy enforcement, manage and analytic. 40 managers provide auto-driven centralized management of your Fortinet devices from a single console for full administration and visibility of your network devices through streamlined provision and innovative automation tool. For 40 Analyzer is a powerful log management, analytics, and the reporting platform, providing organization with a single panel, orchestrations, automation, and the response for simplify security operations, proactive identification, and the remedy of a risk. It's a complete visibility of the entire surface. So for item 4, if currently you have a certain software as a services component you want to access to public cloud, typically Dropbox, Office 365, ServiceNow, we will recommend the 40 CASB and the 40 CWP to ensure access from your on-premises to public cloud without any issue. If you have a container security requirement for your current microservices cloud native application, please also leverage on our 40 CWP Guardian services deployed in the public cloud. So for item 5, today is a so-called key item we have put into discussion with you, include IaaS as a PaaS as a deployment secured by 40 gates, 40 gate next generation firewall, 40 gate web application firewall, 40 web. And the last one is a 40 ADC as a server load balancing features. On top of all the key components listed down here, typically we can leverage on Terraform IAC to do end-to-end automation. So later I will also show you how to using Terraform to speed up the cloud deployments with 40 gates security components here. Talking about this 40 Fabric connector, the secret of a Fortinet Fabric connector is a ready-made solution to automate security synchronization with the operational change, reduce the security gaps, and promote consistent management and the security across hybrid environment. Several different connector types, okay, you can see here, are available that extend security automation and ease the management burden in multiple vendor environment. So from this deployment diagrams of a 40 gate, you can see we have a multiple Fabric connector available now. AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, and the Ali Cloud. And in terms of private or on-premises cloud deployment, we also can support Kubernetes, VMware ESSi, VMware NSS, OpenStack, application central infrastructure provided by the other vendor, and the new age virtualized service platform here. So talking about my team's capability, as I highlighted earlier, currently my team can support AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. On top, it also can support Oracle, Ali Cloud. In terms of Southeast Asia public cloud deployment, only get certified and recognized in selected country have AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the Google Cloud. So today we are more focused on AWS deployment and the Azure public cloud deployment. From the left-hand side, we will introduce a multiple deployment scenario. For example, 40 gate next generation firewall in single VM deployment, active passive HA within a single zone, active passive HA in dual zone, active high availability, auto scaling with the AWS Transit Hub, auto scaling with a hybrid license, and the VNet peering. The last one is a security group update in terms of quarantine area. So typically, for the public cloud deployment with 40K, we are strongly recommended using Terraform infrastructure as code solution here to streamline all the different public cloud platform requirement from AWS to Ali Cloud. So before we move into the solution slide, a quick recap about this. A quick recap about what's the availability zone, VPC, and the subnet. So the first key term we have to remember in mind is the east-west traffic. In terms of network contents, it's a transfer from data packet from server to server within a data center, meaning to say, this one is traffic within cloud itself. For example, application tier, web tier, and the database tier within public cloud itself. So in contrast, north-south traffic describe client to server traffic that move between the data center and the local outside the data center network. So typically in a layman term, it's a so-called security into cloud from your on-premises data center or from your on-premises staff working area to public cloud. Second good term, we will highlight in a few rounds within today's discussion is a hub and the spoke network. So hub and the spoke network, also called stack network, have a central component that connect to multiple networks around it. The overall topology resembles a wheel, while a central hub connect to point along the edge of the wheel through multiple spokes. Yeah. So hub and the spoke in today's discussion, later we will address more. So from this slide, I also put some keyword here: availability zone 1, availability zone 2, availability zone 3. So typically in Southeast Asia, public cloud deployment at least have a 3 availability zone here. In a layman term, availability zone, so-called data center complex 1, 2, and 3. So typically one data center complex with a multiple building block. Each building floor have a multiple data suite. Each data suite have 100 server rack to host hardware, appliance, and a compute instance. For example, one DC complex have 3 buildings, 5 floors, 4 data suite, each suite about 120 racks. So in each complex, about 7,200 racks, 7,200 racks. So times 3, close to 20,000 rack available. So assumption, each rack have 10 servers inside. There are about 200,000 servers within it. Then what's called VPC or VNAND? In fact, it's an on-demand configurable pool of a shared resource allocated within a public cloud environment, provide a certain level of isolation between the different subscribers using the resource. So from this very simplified diagram, you can see here, we have a public subnet. So typically public subnet talk to north-south traffic. Private subnet 1, 2, and the spare capacity. Here, typically we can simplify to define web tier, application tier, and the DB tier as an east-west traffic. So talking about cloud security use case. So today's presentation, I will address what's the security into the cloud to provide private and encrypted data transport for user and the branches officers. Okay, as a highlight in the earlier slide. Second, and the most important one, how to secure within the cloud. Granular segmentation and the application layer protection against any advanced threat. Third one, security across the cloud. Seamless overlap network and a uniform policy for multi-cloud IT here. Now we move into the reference architecture Fortinet solution on AWS. First one, secure into the cloud. AWS with Cloud Security Services Hub, FortiGate deployment leverage on AT passive cluster. As I highlighted earlier, this one is a very simplified. North-south traffic from your current data center, leverage on FortiGate SD-WAN solution, connect to one pair of FortiGate next generation firewall hosted in AWS VPC in AT passive node. So in terms of this solution, typically we'll recommend this AT passive for UAT testing or DR environment instead of a production environment. Widely will leverage on AWS transit gateway here. Okay, so this design, as I highlighted earlier, we leverage on hub and spot. Okay, so today AWS transit gateway as a hub, you will talk to the multiple VPC as a spot. Yeah, here. So if you want to get a more secure during the data transmit, you also can deploy FortiGate IPsec within one for the VPC connect to Cloud Security Hub here. But this solution also have some setback because according to AWS, all the traffic within the VPC itself leverage on his backbone high performance throughputs to achieve all the VPC connectivity. So if you put this IPsec VPN in between the VPC itself, in terms of throughput performance will be downgraded. But concurrently, in terms of security and the encryption for the data transmit will increase a lot. Okay, talking about this solution, it's a native integration for FortiGate HA in terms of AT passive. Configure and sessions sync between FortiGate for seamless failover. Okay, for this solution, it's hard to achieve auto scale. Okay, so that's why I highlight earlier. Typically, this solution is good for DR testing and the UAT environment. Now we move into the other options, security into cloud, leverage on FortiGate's AT. So for this solution, at the right-hand side is similar with the earlier slide. Typically, we leverage on FortiGate one pair of SD-WAN solution to access and establish north-south traffic to public cloud hosted in AWS. Here is a leverage on Cloud Security Services Hub. On top, we achieve AT for FortiGate HA. The good thing about this solution, he allowed to do horizontally scale up. Yeah, so can do the scale up from 2 node, 4 node, 6 node to 8 node, subject to your throughput requirement. And the SD-WAN and the cloud on-ramp for hybrid and the multiple cloud also can auto scale within the Cloud Security Services Hub. So this one is considered one of the best practice to help to achieve AT production environment by manually scale out requirement. This slide also mentioned a similar scenario deploying in AWS. But the good thing about this part, we also deploy multi-cloud solution to fulfill on-premises access to AWS compute resource. On top, you also can leverage on Azure and Google using our across the cloud control powered by 40K SD-WAN to access AWS cloud. Here's the feature here also similar, horizontally scale up of a 40K SD-WAN and the cloud on ramp for hybrid and the multiple cloud. As I highlight earlier, this one will not do auto scale. All the scaling function will based on system administrators scripting over the 40K GUI function to scale up it accordingly. The third one also considers a new synergy highlight here. Leverage on auto scaling's AWS with the AWS Transit Gateway. There's an auto scaling function put here, but I have to say this is a solution a little bit complicated because if you go for this way, 40K auto scale, the integration of a Transit Gateway here is using VPN attachment. It will form two VPN IP set, tunnel for each 40K. Yeah, so two more leg here. It will be using ECMP to load balancing the traffic from Transit Gateway toward to 40K cluster here and the auto scaling set between 40K and the TGW. It also create BGP peering. So a lot of job have to do if I leverage on only Transit Gateway solution plus AW auto scaling. Since today I'm here, so I will recommend one more solution. I think should be the best one to fit auto scaling requirement if you want to deploy in AWS. So AWS announced a new feature called GWLB, AWS Gateway Load Balancer. Leverage on Gateway Load Balancer with a Transit Gateway feature for 40K next generation firewall within Cloud Security Services Hub. All the 40K firewall managed by GWLB can do the auto scale without any issue. So here will achieve horizontally scale without SN source-net enable. Centralized security inspection for north-south traffic inspection also. The third one, central security inspection for east-west traffic. So the combination with a Transit Gateway, GWLB, with a 40K firewall deploying in Cloud Service Hub, we can fulfill all the inspection needed for north-south traffic, east-west traffic. In terms of workload requirement, you can auto scale up without compromise the security requirement and the performance here. So we have some deep dive slide here about the AWS GLB solution overview. So if today we don't deploy the GWLB, you can see here, 40K will work as a next hop of a packet flow. Yeah, next hop. DNAT is a requirement for inbound traffic. That's the NAT. That's the NAT. Complex scenario for horizontal scale. Because without GWLB, system administrator or security administrator had to do manually to enable 40K scale up requirement by script or the others GUI component. The last important one, as source-net require horizon scale. Yeah. So this SNet must turn on accordingly. But once I deploy GWLB, in fact, L3 gateway will leverage our next hop in route table. So there's no need to do the packet rewrite like a SNAT enable. In terms of L4 load balancer function, it can do scaling, stickiness, health checks, float rerouting, in-cab original traffic. So the good thing about this gateway load balancer make it easy to deploy, scale, and manage third-party virtual appliance. Give you one gateway for distribute traffic across a multiple virtual appliance while scaling up, down based on demand. Now we move to reference architecture Fortinet solution on Azure. First one, secure into cloud. So the difference between AWS and Azure. Typically in Azure, heavily recommended leverage on two types of load balancers provided by Microsoft. First one called ELB, external load balancer. Second called ILB, internal load balancer. ELB will directly work with a public VNet area. Sorry. ILB will work with a protected zone area. So in this design, you can see we still deploy multiple VNet in terms of hub and spot design requirement. So you can see from here, in terms of north-south traffic, there's no big difference between AWS and Azure. Just simplify deploys one pair of SD-WAN. You can secure all the transaction can be transported to public cloud with an IPsec encryption function in place. Once a hit to the external load balancer provided by AWS, directly route to one pair of a FortiGate firewall. No matter it's run on AT or AT passive, it can load balance very, very well within this kind of setup. Once our traffic got a deep packet inspection, we will send this packet and the traffic into ILB and talk to the multiple VNet, include web tier, application tier, and the DB tier list down here. So the Azure also have the other features. Typically, you have to enable user-defined route here, UDR. Recently, Microsoft also announced Azure router services for BGP using on this BGP peering to allow multiple landing zone access. But currently in Southeast Asia, I don't see this deployment here. So if I have any update, we can arrange next round for it. So security across the cloud. So typically is similar like AWS, which just allows current Azure's cloud to be accessed through Amazon's AWS and the Google Cloud. As I highlighted earlier, it also have to leverage three key components here provided by Azure's. First one is ELB, external load balancer. Second, internal load balancer. Then the third one is a user-defined route. Security within the cloud, single VNet. So typically, all the add-ons of VNet and the VPC need an extra cost. So for end user point of view, in terms of cost saving, they can move and create only one single VNet or VPC to cut down the cost. In terms of network segmentation, you can leverage application tier, defined to web tier, app tier, DB tier. On top, FortiGate also can prepare as one more tiers as a cloud access tier here. So the simple solution, like earlier mentioned, in the multiple VNet environment, we also have to leverage Azure's external load balancer, internal load balancer, and the user-defined route here. Security within the cloud, multiple VNet solution. So for this solution, as I highlighted earlier, we will address this east-west traffic deploying in Azure, leverage on multiple VNets. I have to say, in terms of Azure's deployment, it's quite straightforward and a very simple ELB 40K next generation firewall as a deep packet inspection. Then the third one, ILB to talk to protect area. In this protect area, you can create web tier, application tier, and the DB tier. Use it by using user defined route here. So